Buddy the Woodsman is generally an okay cartoon. This is a Warner Brothers cartoon from 1934. It's directed by Jack King and written by Melvin Millar, and voices are provided by Bernard B. Brown and Billy Bletcher. And there are a lot more characters in this than I was expecting. I was expecting Buddy, maybe Cookie, but actually we have a lot of other human characters who are working in the woods, and the animation that I love in particular is when they are sawing down all of the trees. Sounds kind of boring, but I just love the movement of the saw. And there's one bit where Buddy is skipping on top of trees. And there are just several other bits of animation here and there that I really liked. The actual events are kind of mundane for about 2/3 of it. And then something happens with an animal towards the end, and I won't say any more than that about that, but things started to get a little bit more interesting. And it's not that the first 2/3 are boring, but they felt kind of repetitive after the first sort of minute. And it really slowed down, and I was thinking, okay, we need something else here. Something different needs to happen, and eventually it does. There are a couple of peculiar things that happen throughout that I don't particularly love, but nothing that I thought was too bad. And having a lot more characters in this than I was expecting certainly meant that even when things were a little slow in the middle, there was always something to look at. So it's not terribly dull, but it does get a little bit repetitive and a little bit mundane. But it started off really strong, and I'd say the final third was really strong as well. Buddy is not exactly a highlight in this. He's not a particularly fascinating character here. And I think that's maybe partly why Buddy as a series didn't run on for too long. There are quite a few Buddy cartoons, but compared to, Bugs and Elmer Fudd, there are certainly not as many of them. And he is a very generic character. He doesn't really have the most interesting facial expressions, but at times he can be quite cute as well. The music in this is fine, it's not too bad. There are a couple of good songs, and in general, Buddy the Woodsman is a fine cartoon. In some places, it offered a lot more than I was expecting. In others, it wasn't so great. But in general, it's not too bad. And if you're a fan of Buddy cartoons or just Warner Brothers in general, Buddy the Woodsman is worth checking out at least once. But I think for me, once is probably enough.